welcome to This Week on the 6873 show. We have a great show today. We're actually interviewing a Twitch streamer. Her name is TeaRadio. A lot of you probably know her and love her. She has been through a lot of interesting things, has a lot of fantastic tales to tell. And so we look forward to hearing from her today. Anyway, welcome to the show. My name is Ren, and also other hosts are...
Rossi and
Ion.
And of course, Tookie. And of course, TeaRadio. We are really excited to have you on the show. We've been focusing on subjects that are other creators outside of VR chat. And Tuti, as Ren mentioned, you are a Twitch streamer. What is it that you stream about? Like, do you have different subjects that you stream about, or is it just one, how do you say?
One genre. Tell us about your show, who are some of your inspirations for starting it, and just anything you'd like to add about it.
Yeah, definitely. So I just really wanted to get into a new hobby. I work with a lot of different hobbies just to keep myself busy. And it just became a point, like, I'm tired of doing one thing, like, less than others. I don't keep up on this thing, or I do one way too frequently. I wanted something that was more structured that I was comfortable doing. And so streaming just seemed like a new idea for me. So I figured, why not? And so it came to a point where I see so many other streamers that you see a lot where they do like these crazy game sponsors and they act completely nuts. And then, of course, the more adult side of Twitch now where it's like they have bikini try-ons and we're doing a hot tub stream. Like, why? Just why go that far? It's just so nuts. It's dumb. Like, you can go see that anywhere. And it was just something that I didn't want to do. So I was thinking, what can I do that people will like? And I gave up on that and just figured, you know what? I want to do something that I want to do. So what would I feel comfortable with? And I decided to just start doing wholesome streams. So it just became more of a point that it's important to have, like, just to receive affection. We don't get that enough. We're told to, like, grow up and, like, oh, you should think this way. You don't need that. Be independent. Be for yourself. But it's nice to hear somebody actually say, like, hey, you know what? You did really good this week. You've done a lot, and I'm very proud of you. So good job. You made it here. And I wanted to do that. So I just figured I'm going to open up the camera, and whoever first shows up, I'm just going to be like, hi, welcome to the stream. I'm glad to have you. And be sure to drink your water and to stay hydrated. That was really about it. But honestly, what really got me going was just some of my best friends here on VR chat. They're like, yeah, just try something that you want to. And I was like, you know, I will do that. And they were my first supporters.
Oh, that sounds really nice. So, like you say, very wholesome, very positive, positive mentality, and engaging in a conversation rather than it just being about crazy stuff and Shadow Legends,
Yeah.
Not sponsored.
Raid Shadow
Not a
Legends.
sponsor.
It's like you get more personal with people. Like you reach out to your audience in a way that a lot of other streamers don't do. Like you said, a lot want to put on a show and just stick to that, but you talk personally with your viewers and such, and that for me that's a whole different ball game. I will say that.
Precisely. Because I wanted to be more of that. It's not that where you watch a show or anything and you're like, oh wow, I really like this is what really grabs my attention, and oh, I wish I can be like that. I want to have like this crazy power. I want to be the cool guy. I want to be like the edgy, like, underdog character. I wanted it to feel more as that, like, it's not where you just connect with me, but to where I can connect with you. And that makes a bigger impact for people, because they actually realize, oh wait, this person acknowledges me. And because they're so involved, they actually feel that comfort.
Yeah, I like the whole idea where you're not just having a show, you're actually building rapport with these people. In fact, I was checking out the channel and stuff like that, and I actually had talked to some people, and you have a name that I know is brought up a lot. They call you Mama T. And because you do build that rapport with these people, how did that come about?
Well, the whole thing actually started off because I was just TeaRadio, and that was the whole thing. And it became more of a personal talk after a bit, and people were like, "Hey, we want to know more about you." And so whenever it stays silent, because I have people who join the show, but they just come to just relax and hear the music and hear me talk. So when I was rambling on, I was talking about how I actually am a parent. I have a daughter. And immediately people were like, "What? Please tell us more." And so the whole thing was that I was underage and I was dating this older chick who actually went to a university. And things happened, had our little fun, had some magical moments, but the whole legality thing, we actually had to put that off. So she ended up having somebody that she was seeing to where he was like, "I understand the situation and I have no problem watching your daughter. I'll love her as like our daughter." And so they're completely fine with it, and I'm still with like in connection with that family, so I still get to see her grow up. And basically just telling that story, it just took one huge comment in all caps, just "Mama T." It just took off. So I just kind of held on to it. I was like, yeah, I guess I have a motherly complex, and so it just stuck around. I was like, "Hi, Mama loves you."
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, to hear that side of it too, like that man who actually says, "Okay, yes, this is the situation," and he just grabs her and loves her like you said, the girl was his own. I mean, I think also it has something to do with your positive personality. Like for me, you're very chill. You're always happy or make people happy. So I could actually see that happening, like that you have that positive effect on this couple as well, so that they communicate with you, you communicate with them, and it runs smoothly. Thank God for that. I mean, you don't see that in a lot of these kind of situations. So actually, it makes me happy to hear that. It really does.
Yeah, I thought it was incredible because it became a joke where it's like, "Oh, what do we call the stepdads and stuff?" So, like, their own daughter, she's like maybe a couple of years older or so, and it just became that like they're just best friends now. Like they have no problem, and even their daughter just looks at me. It's like, "Oh, hey, that's my aunt, uncle person." And so it's really cool to see them grow up because yeah, it's really interesting because it became more of a point that not only he's a stepdad, he actually stepped up to be that dad. And I'm really happy that he is.
Yeah, that's good.
That's a beautiful thing that you're able to actually connect that way too, and it's true too what you say because you see a lot of different things, and it's just basically me, myself, and I, and just don't care about anyone else and stuff like that, and it's your power, no one else's power counts. But it's nice to hear a voice say, you know what, when I hear if someone else says, "Hey, you're awesome too." We don't get a lot of that. We don't get the bolstering up in today's society that probably we need.
That's true.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like
So everyone out there,
so much.
everyone who likes and subscribes, you're awesome.
You're all
We
wonderful.
send lots. We send lots of love. Lots of love.
Save some for me.
But don't worry, I have plenty of love to give. But yeah.
So what do you see? Go ahead.
No, continue.
So where do you see your
Where do you see your Twitch stream going? Where would you like to go from here? I mean, you've got a big fan base, you've got a lot of followers, stuff like that. But where would you like to take your stream from here?
I think one thing that I really want it to be is that, because I know what is kind of sad is if I do somehow make it like really big and I get tons and tons of followers, it's more hard to have that personal connection. So I want it to be where I actually made it a goal that people were like, hey, we want this, we want this. So I told them, all right, if we reach a certain amount of followers, I will gladly open a Discord server. And now I do. So I want to use stuff like that to where I can still connect to people. I think that's all I really want, is to build a community where it's not only just me comforting everyone, but I wanted to feel that whoever you are or whatever you've done, you don't have to worry about that because you're still a wonderful person. And if you're happy enough to just stick around and see me, then you have a bit of kindness that you can share as well. So I just want people to feel that they're all connected, that they're never alone, and truly.
Yeah.
That's the whole mama coming up again. I mean, like, you go beyond streaming, beyond VR, and you welcome people with open arms. I mean, I felt that from the first day I met you as well. Like, there was no judgment. It was so chill, and we just talked and we hang out a bit, and so yeah, I can see that mentality. Like, people are just drawn to you in a certain way that you don't find often. Like we just talked about. I love that about you. I really love that about you. That you have the energy and the positivity to actually grasp people, even when they're at the lowest. And I have to say thank you for that. I really do. I mean, you even me when I'm down, she made me laugh. She does amazing voices and such. And you had a small gig as well. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. I think it's kind of interesting because I never really liked my own personal voice, but it's like when you go through like voice acting stuff, you're going to have to heal your own voice just all the time. And I actually am really happy. Somebody was recently telling me that I think I know why everyone likes your voice, Mom. It's because your voice is like ASMR at normal volume. And I was like, I can't unhear it now. So actually, I'm really confident in my voice. But how I actually got started into the whole thing was because I reached out to an agent somewhere at a convention. Like, yeah, we're looking for people to dabble in this stuff. And so I took on some roles to try to audition for video games and shows, cartoons, voiceover work, and even commercials. And so I ended up getting a gig as a narrator for like an indie storytelling based video game because they were afraid like, oh, we can't hire on all these people. And I told them I have a huge range to do anything. And also I'm really cheap because I'm starting out. They're like, yeah, we'll have you. Sadly, though, the project never took off. But the one thing I did have, though, I did have a Tic Tac commercial I ended up doing at one point.
Oh yeah, I remember you told about that.
Yeah.
And I like it, even though it's simple, but yet I like. Can you do it?
Let's just say,
Yeah,
give us a demo.
Yeah, so it's like I'm a person who is like I will put in work to make sure I can get something that sounds good. And so I ended up probably sending the company about like over like 40 takes of me saying just that one line they needed. And they stuck with the shortest one where it was just like, whatever your tick, there's a tack. Tic tac, what's your tick? And that was it. That was it. And I was like, really? The throwaway one? And it just stopped.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, cool. Like, I have something.
Nice.
That is short, it's simple, it's sweet.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's great.
So,
So
one thing we like to
go into is, not just that you have this amazing show, but we also like delve into who is T Radio. I mean, who is Mama T? Tell us a little bit about yourself and some of your life experiences, because I know you've been through a lot, and I think that's probably why so many people can connect with you, is the ability that you have gone through so much in your life, have experienced so much in your life, have done so much. So people kind of can grasp onto that. But tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually not that old at all. Like I'm only 25. And people find it so shocking, like, really, that you have so many stories to tell. But in all honesty, there's a lot that can happen in just one day. And so whatever I have, I just kind of stick with. Like for me, I actually I suffer with autism. I have Asperger's autism, so I can function normally, but there are little tics that I have issues with. And most of that being is that I have really high muscle tension. So it was basically like when you grow up, you learn ways to cope with your symptoms, your issues. And as for me, I had like a twitching fidget. So basically causing tension, it helped me dealing with the twitching and shaking, but it also compresses all my joints really like a lot. So I consistently have to pop everything and yeah, I'm way heavier than I look. People look at me like, "Oh, well, you actually look pretty thin." And I was like, I weigh like over 260 pounds. And I think most of that is also because like my thighs are like super beefed up because I actually used to be on a track team. I've done a lot for that. Yeah. Like I've had so many things that I actually done in school as well.
You're kind of like all around.
Yeah, I
accept it.
Been there, done that.
Pretty
Got the
much.
t-shirt. What's next?
Yeah, it's like, all right, cross that off the random list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how big is your bucket list?
I actually don't have a bucket list of things I want to do. I basically have it where I let myself go with whatever I have going on. And it's just random things I can just add on to it that I've done. I don't actually have a bucket list. I only have like maybe 30 things I want to do in life, majorly, but that's about it. Everything else is just up for grabs.
Nice.
Everything else is just a bonus.
Yeah.
Basically.
That's good, yeah. Very good.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. So what are these 3 things on your bucket list?
So my major plan is that I want to move over to the UK because I actually suffered amnesia, and when I first woke up, basically the only people I remembered was my 2 friends over in the UK. And so it's been a goal to actually go over there and live with them. But my major goal is that I want to open up my own hotel. I want to open a capsule hotel for people.
Oh.
That and my third goal is that I just want a personal tiny house in the hills.
I love tiny houses. They're amazing.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah, in the UK, the hills have eyes scenario would be
Sheep.
not very scary at all.
You might hear a sheep or 2.
Yeah,
Thing.
and that'd just be bad.
Sorry. No. Oh God.
Sorry.
Dad jokes has started.
The dad jokes are here. And I'm the one.
Well, you can't be sheepish.
Jokes, but.
So, T, you also told us about a very traumatic experience you had. Something about a kidnapping or kind of thing.
Yeah, it is one of those subjects where it's like, oh, so tell us something about yourself, and it's like you don't bring that up while you're having like cheese and crackers with friends. It's just not that. But I was actually dealing with a lot of stuff. I had roommates that basically would steal from me, kick me out, did all those other things, and I lost my job. And so I was homeless for a good while. And what ended up happening was that I ended up sticking with somebody that I knew in high school. I was like, hey, is it possible that I can come spend the night over there? I have a job interview the next morning. Like, yeah, sure, that's fine. And I went, and everything was okay, but they seemed kind of on edge, so I didn't want to bother them too much. I was like, hey, don't worry about doing anything. I can just crash here on the couch, and I'll be gone and cleaned up before you know it. I'm like, yeah, no, don't worry. But what ended up happening was that they were into, there was like a mob or something that they ended up messing with, and they were doing drugs from. So like, I figured she was on drugs maybe. But I was like, it's not one of those things that I can just fix overnight, so I just let her be. But it was way worse than that. So she ended up owing a lot of money because she herself was a dealer. So what ended up happening was when they came to basically ransack her place and, you know, do their duty, she basically told them like, hey, take that person. Just go ahead and just,
Oh God.
there you go, free
Oh
person.
my word.
Jesus.
And that's
Jesus.
basically what happened. Yeah, so I ended up getting kidnapped, and I was there's a lot more to it, but the rundown was that so what ended up happening was my first thought was like, okay, I'm just gonna stay calm, don't do anything crazy, because clearly being a really thin pretty boy, all I have is speed. I don't have anything else to me. I didn't start fighting. I didn't know anything much else. And so I just thought, okay, do whatever they say, stay calm, and that was it. And they were just talking about so much stuff, like, yeah, she showed us a lot of money, but I guess we got you now, so what do we do with you? And for a good long time, I was just locked in a room, and they just beat the living crap out of me. So I actually have a lot of trauma to my back, and I suffer with those majorly. But later from then, there was one person, I guess, whenever he would come talk to me, I guess he was the one who probably brought me like food or some stuff. Eventually, I guess something in him was like, all right, I'm keeping this one. So instead of being beaten up every day, I was taken to this like small, like fancy house that he had. And I was basically locked inside. And he told me, he was like, all right, from here on, you're going to be my toy, and you're going to clean, cook, and do everything for me. You do anything against that, then it was like I'd be getting the living shit kicked out of me again. And I did that for so long. And so I figured if I play enough and I just smile and do completely whatever he says, then he will probably lack up on it. And there was just one day I couldn't handle it anymore, and I just figured, okay, I had to play smart and figure this out now. So, to those who actually do know me, this is a lot to handle, so I do apologize a lot. But so I ended up finding a day that was just right, and like Spikes, you gotta love him. Sorry, but so there was just one day he and his buds, they were like in the game room that he had, like this weird living room area, and they were playing pool. And so he was like, "Hey, bring us the liquor cart." So I brought it over, but I had a knife under it. And so when they weren't really paying attention, they're too relaxed, like, "Oh wow, you broken her down," kind of thing. I basically just did what I had to do, and I did what I could, and I finally got out of there. But even after that, I had to stay low for a while because it was more of that I don't want to go to the police that because this guy's got too much stuff going on. They're too hidden. They might know something. They might know somebody. And my brain instantly thought they're paying some cops to keep it low. And so I basically stayed homeless for a good while, and I ran to a different city. And it's been years since then, but yeah.
That's horrifying.
I mean, I cannot even
God, yeah,
imagine what you have been through. I mean, you basically saved yourself. Like, there was no other people that, yeah, I mean, to find that strength, I don't even know if I don't know anybody who could do that. And I mean, it's incredible. Like, and I think that's where you get your positivity from too. That you waited out and you just wait for the right moment and you literally
Yeah.
took charge.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. And thank God. Thank God. I mean,
Mm.
That is a scary situation. It's just, it's scary to think that stuff still goes on even to this day.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've got to applaud you going through that kind of
Mhm.
traumatic experience and to be as positive and upbeat as you are. I think that's amazing commitment to your
Mhm.
character and your caliber.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just one of those things where we see people, they like, oh, the grass is greener on the other side, and that is a true factor. But the thing is that if you're in their perspective, it's vice versa. So no one's ever really
Mhm.
happy. And people wish that, oh, I wish I never had to be sad or deal with depression or struggle as much. But when we're at our lowest, we had to basically make or break it to where we stand back up from here. And I look at it as though it's like watching the rain. Some people look at the rain and like, oh, it's really sad outside. Whereas for me, I look at it, it's a moment of clarity. It's a time of reflection, and it helps you focus. And it's like when you look in a mirror and you're just thinking, why am I doing this today? I could just call it a day. I can call in, sleep. My favorite program's going to come on. And you have that moment where you're just thinking to yourself, you're being more honest to yourself about something. Like, look at you. You look good today. Or you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, God, I wish my nose wasn't like as poofy or as pointy or something.
Mhm.
So people look at it as though, I wish I didn't have any sad times. But the thing is that you can't truly experience your happy times without dealing with the sad times. Otherwise, there's no climbing back up. It's just one level. People have to embrace that fact because it's the realest thing that you can deal with.
Yeah.
I can really imagine you helping people out of depression, anxiety, other very like mental health situations, stuff like that. I mean, even sitting here with you, you have a positive impact on me. I'm like all hee because I feel that energy from you, and like I said before, you make me happy when you do silly voices and we hang out. And I wish we could hang out more. And also on my part, should like make an effort, but I don't know about y'all, but I feel that energy from her, like instantly. The whole room is different.
Definite
So
positive vibes coming off.
exactly.
Thank you.
Have you ever thought about actually becoming like a therapist, psychiatrist, therapist sort of thing? Is that something that you'd be interested in?
I did think about it a good bit. It was just more the issue that I worried that I wasn't smart enough to actually have a focus in like university to get the education for it. Because like I live with my foster sister now, and I have no problem. Like she's like, oh, my feet hurt, my back hurts. It's like I give her a massage. Like, oh wow, you'd be really good at this. You should look into that. Or like the whole therapy thing. I talk to people and tell them about myself, or they just think like, wow, you're really good at this. You should look into this. I do think about all these things. I just try to be more real with myself, where it's like, am I really going to waste that time in order to just do that and not much out of it? It's like, yeah, it's a safety career to land on, but the investment you have to put into it can be difficult. And I didn't know what I really wanted to do yet. Like the whole being a teacher thing. I thought about it and I was like, I'm actually pretty good at this apparently. I'm doing way better than most of the teachers. And then it was more of that, okay, well, I'm done teaching this year. I'm going to go back to just being my student stuff. And then I was like, why would I want to go into teaching when that's not actually how I impact these kids? Because kids themselves can go through a lot, but they need people they can actually talk to, not just someone who reads a post-it note and slaps a paper in front of you. So there's a whole issue. Like I had to teach while dealing with their lives because they need that help.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I never actually thought about getting into it as a career for like psychology stuff. As much as I like doing it, it's also very taxing on personal health and also just investment time.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Yeah, I know because I have actually known some psychiatrists and stuff, and people who have actually worked in that field, and mentally, the toll it takes on you, because I mean, you're taking all these traumatically traumatic experiences and stuff like that, and you can't just turn that part of your brain off,
Mm.
and it can be a very, very heavy weight to bear. Because you're basically getting all these mind poisons from all these other people, and it's there. You're feeling it with them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because every
Yeah.
once in a while, I always help people here on VR chat when I can. I basically
Mhm.
become the furry therapist.
Mhm.
Everybody comes and talks to me. I listen and I respond the best way I can. It's
Mhm.
just a lot goes on. There's a lot of things
Yeah.
behind
It
curtains
is.
that does happen.
Yeah.
And I mostly try to help them out the best I can. And it's basically an everyday fight.
Yeah.
I know with even my experiences, because when I first joined VRC, for some reason I became Papa Wolf very fast to a lot of the younger furs in the community here, and which it's been a blessing. I love my kids. That's why sometimes if you might see me, I've got to go for a few minutes. Someone.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it is, even with like Mama T, is just having someone to talk to, someone to get that out. If you do nothing else but just listen and care about another living soul for a moment.
Yeah.
I would also like to know, have you ever had a moment where you just said, no, I need to back off? Because I know from my experience, that's why he kind of took over from me, because I had a breakdown. I tried to help so many people at one time, and it took everything from me. Disc. VR is wonderful. But yeah, it took every ounce of energy and everything from me, so I had that mental breakdown. So how do you cope with everything? Have you ever said, no, not today?
Yeah, there's plenty of times that we all feel like that. I mean, even the most like toughest, coolest, like insane person that you know is just like, man, they just look like they're doing so great for themselves. We all have those days. I mean, you can ask any professional athlete, like, what day do you have where you just feel like you got nothing in you? They'll even tell you, like, I do have those days, but you know what? I deal with it. Or they have their own way of handling it. For me, it just became more a point that I guess I'm very fortunate in my own way to actually have a mental disability, is that I can be forgetful and that my emotional state can switch as I want to feel it. So if that's why I was good in theater. It's like, oh wow, I'm going to portray this really sad moment, and I'll actually start crying, and I cry so hard that I couldn't actually say the lines. And there's different things that you have to figure out with yourself first and see where your safety point is, because there's many times where it's like, you know what, I need my day. I need today just something different, something that helps me focus, get me out of this kind of moment. And people don't realize so I will say like a lot of the younger generations and just youngins in general, people have a fear when you grow up, because as a kid you're like, I can't wait till I become a teenager. I can do this. I can drive. I can blah, 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 you know. But even
Reality
then,
sets in.
nobody actually because it's like nobody actually tells you growing up doesn't exactly stop. It keeps going, and it's a challenge on its own, because
Yeah.
People worry that, oh, I'm going to freak out most of the time because they're worried they don't have their life together. You can meet people who are 40 and years older. They still don't know what they're doing with their lives. They're just making it through. And that's okay to pleasure yourself with like little things. It's like, you know what? I did really good this week at work. I aced that exam. I'm going to go to get a cheeseburger. I'm going to go watch a movie with friends. I'm going to go to the beach. It's just the little things that we make it count. And whatever it is, you have to grasp onto those things. So I find it where if I'm overworked, I typically now is my streaming. I enjoy talking to these people because for somewhere in the universe, this moment, I mean something to somebody, and whatever I say, they actually take it and they believe in that. And I think giving that little bit of hope makes me feel better because then I don't have to worry about just keeping it in. People understand that, hey, I'm going to be real with you. My spine hurts because of my injuries. Oh, I have an insane migraine. I'm sorry if I seem slow today. Or I'm sorry, my throat's dry. I'm going to cough a good bit. They understand because it's real. Being honest and real with yourself and kind is one of the best ways to get through it. Because you need that break. You need that time for yourself.
You just lay all the cards out on the table, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, anybody
Well,
can
another
tell you
thing-
it, it gets
for their
better.
ages.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, another thing I noticed that you do for a lot of people, it was so there was captain, another captain that had this one saying. He says, "Remember to make life worth living," and I think that's one of the things you help people do, or at least realize for themselves, is to remember to make life worth living.
Mm.
Yeah,
Even if
I
it's
actually
just-
do have my own saying. It's that whatever you're dealing with mentally or physically, don't let it be what actually makes your character you. It's who you are and how you act. Because people ask me, what's it like having amnesia? I don't remember much of anything before 16 except little gaps of stuff. But whatever I learned, whatever I dealt with, even with the stuff like the kidnapping and all that stuff, whatever I go through as a trial, it's not just something that I have to be like, oh, this scars me forever now. It's another story that you tell in a book. And you can't let that one little thing define what it is. Because every day is something different and it's unexpected and new. And so my saying is that no matter what it is, the insanity of normality can actually be the beauty and creativity. So if you have a weird
I like
idea,
that.
go for it. If you think differently, believe in it. If you want to achieve something for yourself and be better, then you have the obligation to do so, even at your own pace. If you want that change, you can achieve it. You just have to believe no matter what you feel or think or do. You can do it. You just have to try.
Hmm.
I like that.
That's
I
nice. Yeah.
almost started to cry.
Oh,
God.
no, please. I'm sorry.
No, it's a happy cry. It's a happy cry.
Yeah.
I think that hits somewhere. Don't mind me.
She
So,
needs some
another
milk.
Don't shut up. Why to ruin the moment?
So another thing
yeah.
that's very interesting, because you have led this amazing life. You've done so many things, and one thing I find that's kind of a kind of took me aback is here's this loving motherly figure, but you also said one time you had was it a career or something, that you were a fighter, professional fighter?
I wasn't necessarily professional, but it was more so, it was during like the whole kidnapping thing when that guy took me in. He basically tried to find a place for me in the gang, in the mob or whatever. And they had a semi-underground fight ring. And at first, I was basically like the dancer for the shows that they do behind the fight. So I actually used to be a semi-stripper because I am a pretty boy. working at this club, it's like, oh, she's innocent, young, and short, and curvy hips. And so it was more of that, okay, we want to retain innocence and gather some of the, the more unfiltered adults into this rather than just watching the fight.
Mm-hmm.
And so after a while, it was basically like, hey, we don't need her because we now know that she's not a chick. That's going to cause some problems more than we have this thing going on. So figure stuff out or she's gone. And so I ended up doing like a stupid show card thing and ringing the bell. And then it just escalated into me that I actually had to be in the fight. So I spent a lot of my time just basically thinking of techniques and stuff, and from whatever I actually previously learned from like my my old neighbors and stuff. And so I was like, okay, what do I know? I know boxing techniques. I know some jujitsu. I know pressure points. I know how to do like Muay Thai and stuff. Adapt to the situation, and that's exactly what I did with that. So for a good time that I think when I was with him, I was about like maybe 5 months in staying with him. So that whole time for like 4 months, I had to just fight.
Oh, that's horrible.
Oh, yeah.
Just to be put in that situation.
Yeah.
So in so many ways, you were literally fighting for your life.
Yeah, but in the brightest aspects of anything, you can be calm and peaceful and have kindness in yourself. But it's like yin and yang. No matter what light there is, there will be darkness. As well as darkness, there will be some bit of light. And one of the things that I'm pretty sure I'm not saying it right, but it was like the whole thing that Gandhi was saying was that, or Martin Luther King, people think they forget that, oh, he had to be a criminal to fight for the rights. Or Gandhi believed that we do have a bit of darkness in us, and our instincts want to take on those. It's where we have to fight amongst ourselves to overcome those feelings and thoughts. So it's not necessarily that you have to fight for your own life physically. People fight for themselves daily with depression and schizophrenia, all kinds of things. So I don't look at it as a bad thing. I mean, out of one thing, I guess I know how to fight now. So I actually practice boxing for fitness.
Nice.
Oh.
Nice, yeah.
Well, give us one thing to, with this life that you've lived and stuff like that. What would be, for anyone in the show that might be going through what you've gone through or whatever, what would be one piece of advice that you would tell them?
I'd probably have to go somewhere off my saying because it's like when you listen to a song. It might sound different every time, or you might even not focus on the lyrics and you're like, oh wait, I gotta rehear it again. Or it might sound different to someone else. It's your life is its own story. It's its own work of art. You might feel you have to be in the frame. You might feel you need a certain style, Van Gogh, Picasso, or you just might finger dabble everything like a toddler. But even Pablo Picasso believed that to be the best artist he could, it took him a lifetime to learn to paint like with the eyes of a child. It's important to smile for yourself and understand that life is going to be complicated. You just have to believe that no matter what, you will make it to the end of the day. And that's a beautiful thing to look forward to because a lot can really happen in a day. So it's just important to be kind with yourself and others. Because if you can smile, others can see it.
Yeah, it definitely comes back to helping others, bolstering others up because, like I say, that's something that seems to be lacking so much in our society is just being able to say, hey, you know what, you're awesome, you're doing good today. Actually caring about someone else.
Yeah, because it's the feeling that we as people, we're still technically animals. We have our own instincts of things, and with the way society is, we feel that we have to stay closed in and hide away so many things, but it's important to still stand out in your own way. Because people want to believe that they are unique, even though in the vast universal scheme, we're a speck. But the idea is that even just one bit of movement can mean something different. Like the butterfly effect. That one little change in the breeze can really cause a drift in the wind, whether the path will go left or right. And people need to realize that even if you're not feeling that great, you can make yourself great. You can make yourself feel better. You just have to believe in that you can do that. It's not just like, oh, it's free to just say hello to somebody. It's more that you have to understand and feel that way normally and naturally. Because there's only so much you can force yourself to feel a certain way. That's why people feel they're hiding behind a mask. It's not wearing a mask. You're just basically hiding away still. You just don't realize it. You just have to be more honest. Like if you see somebody, oh, hey, that person has a cool hat. Hey, dude, I really like that hat. You look awesome. Where'd you get it? It can psych somebody up. Because if you feel honest enough to be like, oh man, I want to say something. Look at that. Oh, that thing that somebody did. That's so cool. Hey, I love the way you play that instrument. Like for you feel good when you get excited and you want somebody to feel excited with you. So just being kind and honest can really make a difference in something.
Yeah. So it's not just what you say, it's how you say it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
If you're positive in your outgoing, then it'll be positive when on the return.
Exactly, because you can direct the way a masterpiece can go, but the way people interpret it is guided by what they see and hear.
Yeah.
Nice.
I can really see you being a guidance counselor or the one who travel around giving speeches and in positivity and stuff like that. Like really help people find that inner happiness.
Yeah.
With Twitch streams too, I'm kind of doing that now. Because you're helping so many people now with your Twitch streams, and I can see that definitely progressing. When you reach, go a little bit further of having a conference, having a talk. But I mean, right now, look how many people are helping with that.
Exactly. And I actually think it's a scary thing to look at because the grand scheme of anything can be terrifying when you just want to know that one thing. But I'm willing to actually learn that and overcome it because I actually feel good when I stream. I make these people feel important and smile. They look forward like, hey mom, how was your day? We missed you. Glad to see the stream again. And I love feeling that because I know they actually mean something. Like it might be a silly gimmick like, oh, this is my internet mom. Say a hi, everybody. And it's like, well, by all means. If that little thing makes you feel happy, then I'm glad to do it. And as much as I am nervous and scared, I am really excited to see where I could potentially go with it. And I would just love to be able to be that little story that people can tell.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I don't know if any of y'all have any final thoughts. I actually have one. I would like to hear you do at least 2 different voices. I love those voices.
Yeah, sure. Let's see. The most recent thing I took up on was when VivZPop, a good, well-known, popular YouTuber who does animations, came up with a show called Has Been Hotel and a Hell of a Boss. And so there's a few characters that I was like, man, this is something awesome. I'm excited for this. And I was even a fan of the podcast they do. And so I ended up learning ways to actually do one of the characters' voices named Angel Dust. And it's the same way that the person who actually voices them, Michael basically explained the rundown of it. Like he has an idea for the voice of like, I think it's something Joe Pesci, and like the way it sounds, he explains it as that. So to get the voice, you want to get like a high, nerdy kind of nasally voice, but not in the nostril, but a nerdy voice, but you want to hold it in the throat a little. And then you basically you throw a Brooklyn accent to it. Take a look around. You got a bunch of fucking Harlequins babies down here. Hey, this body is flawless, and I got the creepy fan letters to prove it too. Like that's a good thing that a lot of people recently like to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, I can do the video game voice that I did. So I did like the narration and the bouncy character telling their own story, and the narrator's like, "All right, we'll go with that." But there was a different character in the game. It was basically like the Oracle, the save point of the game.
Mhm.
And so it's like you think, okay, what's sage like? Something deep and calming, something that grabs you. It's like kind of like the old guy that you see in like a karate movie, or it's like, all right, I'm gonna teach you the ways, kind of thing. But I was like, you know what, that's gonna be so broad. It's so broadly used. So I was like, what's something that I can do? So I was like, I'm going to like stress my throat out as much as possible. So I was like, okay, what's something that's like Master Chief and like Optimus Prime, something like nuts that people are like, okay, that's expected, but cool. So I was thinking I'm just gonna go as deep in the throat that I can and just do a bass tone. So I was like,
to collect the skulls, you must have the strength. I will grant you the power to continue on and fight for peace.
so it was basically that.
And,
I'm sorry, but
I think one of my
fangirling over here.
no worries.
You wouldn't want to do that voice for a very long time, though, would you?
No, there's
Quite a
just different
strain on
techniques
the
that you can do because it's like learning to roller skate the first time. You're like, oh, I can do this, just walking and stepping to the side a little. But it's like, oh man, this hurts a lot. You got to train different muscles. Same thing with your throat.
Yeah.
It's all just muscle structure. So like my basic training for like vocalizing in the morning, because I actually have a lot of scar tissue in my throat lining. And so basic training is that like I do soft tonage, a lot of breathing, focus where the muscle sits and the vocals are at, and talk more with the chest and not the throat. Open your mouth a certain way. So it's like heat from fire, fire from heart. Heat from fire, fire from heart. Heat from fire, fire from heart. And it's stuff like that. But yeah, it's fun to just dipple into those things. Like I play a game like Overwatch with my friends or something. And out of a lot of games I play, I was like, all right, I actually play a lot of the tanks on this game. So I do a lot of the voices for fun. I was like, I can kind of do that. So just every once in a while, like I'll be like the big Reinhardt guy with a huge armor. It's like, come, join my friends. Or the big like Rohan guy.
Birkin.
It's just like, it's fun to do.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah, like my friend's a huge like what's that character? It's like he's got like a tire on his back, Junkrat or something. Junkrat. My friend is a huge Junkrat fan, and so it's just like a kind of like an Aussie accent in a way, just like really groggily and bouncy. So oh, you gotta love the lag. Sorry.
This is my life.
Yeah, it is so the voice is like super bouncy and it's got a little Aussie like slack to it. And so they like known to have like these two characters clash and are friends. So it's like I do like conversations of like Roadhog talking to Junkrat. So it's like,
At least I'm not a rat.
oh well, at least I'm not a hog. Oh, you're really letting my peers in. You know, shit like that.
That's amazing.
That's good. Yeah.
I love when you do voices. You always make me smile. I mean, I remember an episode. We were in an Avatar world, and I don't know who it was, but you did the Goofy voice.
Yeah, I was trying to do the Goofy voice.
She made the person literally leave the world because she couldn't handle that. I was laughing my ass off. I thought it was brilliant. I mean,
Yeah, because it went from like something simple and like it's alright. I could see that in the show. It's like, oh, hi, pal. How you doing, Goofy? And it's like, well, hey there, Mickey. How are you today? And then they're like being like annoying runts. They're like, oh my God, say this, say this. And I was like, now listen here, little fella. You're really cool, and I'd like to have you here with us. But I swear to God, if you don't shut the yuck up, I will beat your ass. And they just like, yeah. And honestly, like, if you ever see any like voiceover actor like in the studio and they just mess around, they basically just have fun with it because you kind of forget where it goes. Because with voice acting, it can go like, all right, I'm saying this, but all of a sudden it's like, okay, I went from Optimus to suddenly like Daffy Duck or something, you know, something weird. Like, hang on, I gotta say this line to get back into the character. So yeah, it's like it's good to just play with your voice. Like, you think you sound weird, just talk about something in a comforting way. Like, I think the best one is to do like a narration voice and like tell yourself a story and then just hear yourself. And once you feel comfortable, like, oh, I can actually listen to this as a bedtime story. Like, you know, sore night, tired, exhausted, don't look at my phone, play the audio. Ah, comfort. That's a good way to deal with that. Yeah, because like there's so many times where like, hey, can you do the movie guy voice? And it's like it sounds a lot like my Master Chief voice and stuff where it's, I got a job to do. And it's like, okay, that's not working. So now it's just like, in a world, one man, music, intense, whatever. Play with it, it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's basically the gist of it. You just gotta basically mess it around and feel what's comfortable, see what works, change it up a little, and that's basically how I got into voice acting on its own. You just gotta like, okay, what does this look like? What would he sound like? Bleh, there it goes. That's what he sounds like. Get creative.
That's awesome.
Nice.
All right. Well, anyway, does anyone else have any questions they'd like to ask T before we close out for the day?
Well, TeaRadio, thank you so much for coming on the show today. You have been an absolute treasure. Hope to have you on again. And her links to her Twitch will be in the description below.
And until next week,
We will see you, and everyone have a great week.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Lots of
Good
love.
vibes.
Stay safe.